I have a question.
Oh, yes.
This sutta talks about Yoniso Manasikāra with respect to the Noble Eightfold Path.
Mhm.
There are other suttas where he talks about appropriate attention with regard to the Four Noble Truths. And obviously, it's all interrelated. Would you like to comment on that a little bit?
Well, that is true. Lord Buddha was a master at presenting the Dhamma in such a way where you could pluck out one principle from a certain teaching that he gave on at a certain time, and then you would put it somewhere else. Let's say earlier I was mentioning about the metaphor of the dawn that precedes the sun. And you saw how the dawn, the image of the dawn, was used in this case for Yoniso Manasikāra, which is radical attention. But a few suttas afterwards, in the Kalyanamitta Sutta, he removed the Yoniso Manasikāra, and then he put in there Kalyanamitta, which is the spiritual friend, with whose help you can develop your practice. And it works beautifully. So similarly, with your question about Yoniso Manasikāra, now it's Yoniso Manasikāra, it's a different, it's the opposite. So it's the object in this case, instead of Noble Eightfold Path, he's talking about, in your example, about the Four Noble Truths. Yes, and by the way, the Eightfold Path, Noble Eightfold Path, is the fourth Noble Truth. It's the Magga, the path. It's the how-to, the step-by-step that is necessary for a spiritual path to truly be called spiritual path for me. I've never seen it anywhere else in my studying of religious disciplines. I tried. I kept banging my head against the wall, like since I was a kid, trying to find a tool, a step-by-step series of steps. If I follow, I would get to whatever, without blind faith, without guesswork, no gambling. So you have this methodology, the formula that works beautifully. Other places you will find him talking about Yoniso Manasikāra in terms of Iddhipada, which are the four basis of psychic power, psychic success, spiritual success. That's another way of, I mean, it's in that sense, it could easily work. Also, if you replace Yoniso Manasikāra with, let's say, he talks about samadhi, other places, just samadhi. He doesn't talk about it while using the word samma samadhi or sati or vayama or the effort, but you can easily use these interchangeably, so they work. I don't know if I'm answering your question in a satisfactory way, but that's what, or how I would approach it. It's, of course, if you don't have, this takes us back into what I was saying in regards to right view. Meaning, if we were to use the Four Noble Truths, based on your example, while looking through the lens, the goggle of Yoniso Manasikāra, then you will be able to truly understand what right view is, because you're using right view, to look at the first noble truth, which is dukkha. This is one crucial reason why most people will not attain, or will not even come close to understanding the Dhamma, because they are running away from dukkha, from suffering. Today's world, we're being taught to avoid the pain at all costs, run away without understanding, without appreciating suffering. So Yoniso Manasikāra would help the person to develop a healthy appreciation of suffering. This is not you being sadistic or masochistic, neglectful of your well-being. No. Most people run away from suffering. Yeah, well, how in the world is suffering going to teach us anything? You're going to fall into the same trap again. Earlier I was talking as a couples therapist, people would come, or even individuals. They would say, why do I always attract the wrong person into my life? And they would list their boyfriends or their girlfriends, or whatever. And you see the common, denominators. It's all there. And then there was this person and that person, and this decade it was this person, and they all have the same, like 90% of the qualification. This person has never truly looked at the pain they were experiencing, and instead they were always looking away, to run away from pain. So in that sense, Yoniso Manasikāra forces you, because you're looking radically. Where? At the root. Radical. Yoni. What is the root? Running away from one thing into the arms of another thing, which is far worse. Right? Earlier I was telling you that metaphor that my mom used to use, running away from the rain only to get caught in a hailstorm. Oh, the next one, the next partner, the next person, the next job, the next marriage. Yeah, but you had 5 failed marriages over there. Yeah, but the next one is going to be great, doctor. Why? Why? Oh, because you thought it, you willed it, you intended it. That's why? There's no lesson that has been learned. So, Yoniso Manasikāra forces the person to look at the suffering square in the eye, as they say, with responsibility, with wisdom. That's what Yoniso Manasikāra also indicates, by the way. It shows that there is appropriate amount of sati and sampajanya, full understanding of the situation. This is you not reacting, this is you responding. Here's an example of that. You're responding, which is a mature attitude, which we're lacking in our society. Oh, take this pill, you'll get over the pain. Oh, just go on go to Fiji, you'll forget about the pain. Go do this, you'll forget, Friday night, oh, let's go to the pub or the club or this or that. We'll forget about what happened. Why do I want to forget? I need to learn what were some of the steps I took that got me into that trouble. Because it forces the person to have wisdom to look now beyond dukkha. So dukkha is the way to nibbana. It's not the way to, it doesn't have a detour sign. It needs to show us where our misconceptions are. So it is a great teacher. Dukkha is a great teacher. So, which causes us to ask the second question. Well, where is this suffering coming from? I'm not able to ask that question if I don't have Yoniso Manasikāra. Because if my attention is on the wrong thing, meaning I want to run away to Fiji, let's say, to forget about what happened, debacle that happened in this relationship, what am I doing? I'm putting my attention on the wrong thing instead of looking at the radical problem. Do you see how we need to apply Yoniso for Manasikāra in our approach of the Noble Eightfold Paths? So if you have that, then sooner or later you will definitely see, because the person who sees suffering for what it is will most certainly see the cause of it. This is something that people don't talk about. An appreciation of the Four Noble Truths. See, the Dhamma does not reveal itself or does not happen just like that. It's not a matter of going through the jhanas, boom, 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 and becoming a sotapanna. No! You need to understand the Four Noble Truths. These are not like some psychic states as like, oh, I'm seeing some lights. No, it has nothing to do with that. There's no evidence of that in the suttas to designate a person as a seika, as a noble disciple, as someone who has seen the Dhamma, Dhamma Chakku. Jnana Dassana, it's called. Knowledge and vision of what? Some weird psychic phenomena in your brain? No. There's a deep penetrative insight to things as they are. Yatha bhutang pajanati, Lord Buddha says, to be able to see how things come to be by you for the first time ever. That's why there is a personality change. So I don't believe in these retreats that people go to and then just come out like Sotapannas and Sakadagamis, where there is no personality change. I used to ask these questions. If this person now is in the 5th jhana or in the 4th jhana or a Sotapanna, how come I'm not seeing their behavior reflecting that? Behavior, trust the behavior, not the words or who they have around them. Or how people are saying this person, oh, he's a great teacher. Well, why? If he is or she is, that's fine, that's great. Let me also practice to see if that, and when you practice and you see the Dhamma being deeper than that, some jhanas and this and that, so you will be able to see the cause of suffering. So now you will become, it's almost like a chemist, it's almost like a scientist. That's why I describe meditation and working with the Dhamma like mental surgery. Not brain surgery, mental surgery. Because your touch has to be superb. You have to balance wisdom. You have to balance understanding. You have to go into the suttas. You go deep into the suttas. And not just read a few lines. No, really take your time, settle in. See if what this is being said here in this line, whatever, sits as you sit. Does it change you? Does it change your relationship with phenomena, with whatever you've been going through? And does it make your pain less? Through understanding, not by you running away. That is key. Because it's through you understanding that you're going to taste the 3rd noble truth, again with the help of Yoniso Manasikāra. So oftentimes I say, you need to hold the hand of sati. If you say that in a different way, it means holding the hand of Yoniso Manasikāra. Imagine you have a child, your only child. You love so much. And you're going through a crowd. That was my nightmare when I was a child. My mom used to take me to grocery shopping, and there would be people all around. People yelling, people, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, watermelon, da, 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 da. People would be yelling. People would be, especially when the vendor would bring a new case of, a new chest of like new products. And they would dump it on the thing, the display, and all these women would just go to get this. And if you have a child and you're not holding their hand, so my mom used to hold my hand, and if she couldn't, guess what? My hands were there to hold her skirt. I still remember she had a black skirt. I used to hold it like, you imagine my height then. She wasn't tall. She was only like 5'8", 5'7", I'm sorry. I would hold her skirt like this. I didn't want to lose her. Can we hold Yoniso like that? With every single interaction you have in your life, the mind, the contact I was saying, passa, you have 6 doors. 6 doors, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, the nose, the body, and the big one, the mind. Right now, it's annoying, right? It's piercing through the ears. Bhante Nyanananda would call the most interesting, the most powerful musical instrument is the eardrum. The eardrum. And that's where the contact is happening. But there's a reaction to that. So if you have Yoniso Manasikāra, you will pierce right through it, cut straight right through it. It's like a hot knife, metal knife, and you put it on a bar of, a butter, stick of butter. It just goes whoosh. That's Yoniso Manasikāra. It cuts through straight, sweetly, beautifully, through all this other stuff that you have been telling yourself. Why? With the help of clarity, which comes through wisdom. Wisdom in the sense of sati and sampajanya. Sati means mindfulness, and sampajanya means clear understanding. Starting from your sitting position right now, do you know understanding could also be fully getting the grasp or comprehension of how I'm sitting? And while you're sitting, whether or not something is going on in your mind, are you truly present? Are you 95% here or 95% out? Or are you too busy translating or interpreting or having a position towards what I'm saying, putting it in its appropriate boxes as you deem fit? That's what we do most of the time. That's why we have to sit before a sutta. That's what Lord Buddha did. And that's why whoever did that beautifully, correctly, their mind was just like beautiful dry sponge that you toss into a bowl of water. It will soak it up. That's why you had so many arahants, simply from listening to the Dhamma talk of Lord Buddha's. We don't have that because we have other stuff in here. And similarly with the Yoniso Manasikāra, when the person is having that understanding, they can see and they can relinquish the hold they had on that position, which is nirodha, which is the cessation of the suffering. And then the fourth one is every single, which is today's theme of Noble Eightfold Path, every single one of the Noble Eightfold Path has to have within it Yoniso Manasikāra, because you're going to break down from one to the next. You might be okay with the right view, or you might be okay with the right speech, but that will only be temporary, because there's a disconnect between that and the first, meaning right view. Or the other ones are okay, but when it comes to right sati, there isn't Yoniso Manasikāra, which is equivalent to saying you don't have sati at all.